wealth redistribution, funded by natural resources, administered by the state.
God,
In
okay,
other words,
stop.
All right, folks, buckle up because today we're diving into the wildest corner of the internet, woke TikTok. Specifically, the dumb socialist edition, where people treat Karl Marx like the original influencer, except instead of selling skincare routines, he's pushing it gets dumber by the second. Picture someone confidently appearing on TikTok, fired up, claiming, one of the greatest tricks the CIA ever pulled was convincing Americans that socialism doesn't work. And I'm immediately thinking, wait, hold on CIA, really, not the actual 100 million people who starved, froze, or were thrown in gulags. No. Apparently it's all just some giant CIA prank. Amazing.
Greatest tricks the CIA pulled was convincing the American people that socialism doesn't. You've probably heard it. You've probably heard people be like, socialism sounds great on paper, but it never. This is always super interesting to me when I hear this because I always follow it up with a follow-up question. What's your metric for something working? What metric are you using for success?
It's your metric for success. The classic move. When reality doesn't support you, just play word games. My metric? How about not collapsing, starving millions, or turning into a dictatorship overnight? Seems like a solid standard to me. Then she tries to defend herself with her own little experiment, claiming, well, I run a business on a socialist platform, 1,111,111,111,111. No, sweetheart, that just proves you're voluntarily splitting profits inside a capitalist system. You're still competing in a free market, buying from suppliers, selling to customers, and paying taxes. Nothing about that makes it socialism. That's like saying, if I give my buddy a slice of pizza, boom, communism achieved. Congratulations, comrade, we've done it.
I personally have run a business on a socialist platform for the past, coming up on 11 years. Everyone who works at the company gets equal pay. We don't operate on a for-profit model. We try to break even when there is profit, though. We distribute it up amongst, and the business might fail for sure. Businesses fail, but if it does, it will not be because of how payroll was distributed or because we had workplace democracy.
No, well, no.
It will be because of our need to compete on a free market system.
And let's be real for a second. She admits the business might fail, and when it does, she blames the free market for being too competitive. Translation: our socialist experiment failed because capitalism exists because, apparently, socialism can't survive without capitalism propping it up every single time. But wait, it gets better. Another TikToker pops up, all serious, saying,
Friends decide that you're going to open a business and then you distribute the profits equally. That doesn't make you socialist. You're running inside a free market system. Where do you think your money is coming from? Is the government giving you your money? Was there a nationalization of resources?
My favorite claim of all, the richest 1% supposedly hoard 90%.
Time somebody suggests free healthcare, fair wages, affordable housing, politicians and billionaires. Oh my god, socialism, communism, end of days. What? Do you ever stop to ask? Why do they want you to fear socialism so badly?
It stinks!
What? Because the truth is, they're already using it for themselves. What is them really? The definition is a system where resources and industry serve the public.
No, that's just factually wrong. Second, hoard. What are they doing? Stuffing billion-dollar bills under their mattresses like Scrooge Mc. Wealth isn't just cash. It's stocks, businesses, and investments. And those things don't just sit there. They generate jobs, products, and yes, taxes. And before you start screaming tax the rich, here's the kicker. The top 50% of earners pay literally 100% of net taxes in this country, while the bottom half pays basically nothing. So no, Jeff Bezos isn't stealing your
universal health care, education without lifelong debt, and wages that keep up with inflation. Sounds pretty good, right? But that's not the version they sell us. We know that. Just 1% hoard 90% of the wealth. They don't want you asking why they get tax breaks while you struggle.
No! Okay, stop it.
Now, here's where it goes completely off the rails. Some guy asks, name a country where socialism worked. And another genius replies, Vietnam. Name.
There's this idiot idea that is promoted by socialists that essentially there's a fixed pie. If you take the fixed pie and you divvy it up in equal parts, everybody will be happier. But the pie isn't fixed. That's the whole reason socialism is a giant fail. It is a redistribution of resources that are already on the table, and that generally has to manifest as a nationalization of the industries themselves. Otherwise, it turns out there are winners and losers in a meritocracy.
Just to escape poverty, their life expectancy, GDP, technology, and overall standard of living skyrocketed once they ditched socialism. But sure, let's pretend the rice fields under collectivization were just thriving. And if that wasn't enough, someone even tries to blame capitalism for the Vietnamese famine in the 1940s. 111 miliar, 111.111.000, 111 sorry, check your history. That famine happened under Japanese occupation, a fascist imperialist regime.
Single country where socialism worked. Okay, it seemed to work in Vietnam really great actually.
No. What no. What are you talking about?
And calling the Khmer Rouge's genocide in Cambodia liberation. Excuse me, that's not liberation, that's mass murder. Millions of people
Had
dead.
a famine. Oh, except for the one that killed 2 million people under capitalist rule.
As long as you can slap it on a TikTok with pastel colors and ukulele music, suddenly, it's revolutionary. Next up, China. Oh boy, here we go, another TikToker proudly declares, socialism lifted 800 million people out of poverty.
People under capitalist rule.
Okay, so hold up. He is talking about, I assume, the Vietnamese famine of 1944 to 45. That'd be the Vietnamese famine that killed 2 million people. When it was under occupation by Japan.
Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing. You know what that is, right?
China starved under Mao. 40 million people died during the Great Leap Forward. It wasn't until Deng Xiaoping introduced capitalist reforms, opened markets, allowed private property, and encouraged foreign trade that China's economy truly took off. Everything good you see in modern China, the skyscrapers, the manufacturing boom, the tech, it's all thanks to capitalism.
Repelled their French colonizers. They successfully defended against the United States invasion. They defended against Chinese invasion. And they liberated Cambodia.
Liberated Cambodia? Like Pol Pot killed 1 million people.
Not socialism without capitalism. China would still be trapped in the nightmare of Mao's utopia. But you can't tell that to TikTok socialists. They just keep shifting the definition to fit their
Single country where socialism worked. Okay, China.
China!
In China, socialism lifted over 800
No, you stupid
When you point out the gulags, they say, that wasn't real socialism. And when you point out China, they say, well, actually, it's state capitalism, but that still counts. No, it doesn't. If you have to redefine your ideology every 5 minutes just to make it sound appealing, maybe the ideology isn't as great as you think. Now let's talk about Alaska. One smugly claims, Alaskans get a check every year from the government.
Until the Chinese began to embrace capitalism in the 1990s and 2000s that they started to see a massive increase in their GDP per capita.
And the state decided to cut residents in on a small slice of the profits. That's not socialism, it's dividends. And even then, it's only about $1,600 a year, which doesn't exactly cover rent, food, and Netflix. It's a bonus.
It's the largest and fastest quality of life improvement in human history. What? China's capitalist now. All of China's prosperity happened because China introduced capitalist free markets. Markets aren't actually what makes an economy capitalist.
Here's the definitional shifting. Here we go.
According to Karl Marx, it all has to do with private versus public ownership. Socialism is the process of transferring privately owned companies to the public, controlling them with a worker state. And a staggering 60% of China's market capitalization is owned by public, state-owned...
No, that's state capitalism.
Since 1979, worker productivity has gone up 86%, but wages only 32% proof. They say that capitalism is broken.
Socialism could never work in America, right?
Right.
Tell that to Alaska. Every single year, Alaskans get a check from the government just for living there. It's called the Permanent Fund Dividend, and it's literally oil money.
Huh? Oil?
Split up and handed out to every resident. Big Oil writes a check to the people. You know what that is? Wealth redistribution. Funded by natural resources, administered by the state.
God,
In
okay,
other words,
stop.
Not because you're working harder, but because technology makes you more efficient. A single worker with a laptop can do the work of 10 people in 1979. And the irony is so thick you could cut it with a hammer and sickle. And let's be clear, capitalism isn't perfect, nobody's saying it is, but unlike socialism, capitalism has the unique ability to correct itself. People innovate, create, compete, and yes, sometimes they fail. But out of that failure comes progress. That's why we went from horse-drawn carriages to Teslas, from telegrams to iPhones, from waiting a week for a letter to FaceTiming across the globe instantly. That's capitalism at work, and it's undeniable. So the next time you hear someone on TikTok crying about the virtues of socialism,
Permanent oil fund dividend you get if you're a citizen of Alaska. It amounts to approximately $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 per year in Alaska.
Please, sir, I want some more.
What's the median household income in Alaska? Wait for it. $88,000. So no, it turns out that Alaska doesn't run on socialism. You get a tiny little check every year because Alaska is very oil rich, in the same way that Norway has a gigantic sovereign wealth fund, and they fund a lot of what they're doing because they nationalize their oil industry and then subsidize the rest of what they're doing with it. But Norway is a capitalist country, same thing, except much less so with Alaska.
Squirm. Watch them redefine terms, dodge questions, or scream CIA propaganda, because deep down they know the truth: socialism doesn't work, never has, and never will. And if you enjoyed this takedown of woke TikTok socialism, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and drop a comment below telling me the dumbest socialist argument you've ever heard, because trust me, there's plenty out there.
Better at your job and you get more productive, you don't make any more money, your boss makes more money?
No.
And you don't get to leave early, they just give you more work. Yeah, democratic socialism would fix that. I first heard about democratic socialism 10 years ago with Bernie Sanders.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
There was a lot of fear-mongering then, and there's a lot of fear-mongering now, and a lot of it is based on just outright lies. So in a nutshell, democratic socialism is a political democracy and a socially owned economy. You know how we say, we the people have the power of the government? That idea of we the people would also apply to the economy. Think about how fucked up it is that since 1979, worker productivity has gone up 86%, but pay has only gone up 32%. We, the workers, are 86% more productive, but we only get paid 32% more, and that's by design.
Not because you're working harder, but because technology makes you more efficient. A single worker with a laptop can do the work of 10 people in 1979. And the irony is so thick you could cut it with a hammer and sickle. And let's be clear, capitalism isn't perfect, nobody's saying it is, but unlike socialism, capitalism has the unique ability to correct itself. People innovate, create, compete, and yes, sometimes they fail. But out of that failure comes progress. That's why we went from horse-drawn carriages to Teslas, from telegrams to iPhones, from waiting a week for a letter to